Okay, hello everybody. It's Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. This is Sahavas for everyone on Baba Zoom. I'm Laurent Weichberger. I'm here with my sister today. Sarah, say hi everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And we are going to share the screen, and it's going to start with the quote from Mayor Baba. We're doing, for 1 year, we've been doing um, 12 ways of realizing me. And because it's August and it's the eighth month, this is the eighth way, according to Mayor Baba, of realizing him, which is selfless service. Baba said, if you have the quality of selfless service, unaffected by results, similar to that of the sun, which serves the world by shining on all creation, on the grass in the field, on the birds in the air, on the beasts in the forest, on all mankind, with its sinner and its saint, its rich and its poor, unconscious of their attitude towards it, then you will win me. And then I have one more quote, and then we can open it up for everybody to share. I was minding my own business, going around looking at things, and I found this quote. Baba said, okay, from the spiritual point of view of the last and the only truth, all souls are in their essence fundamentally one. War cannot create any real cleavage or division between the people who are fighting with each other. The people of the warring countries seem to be different from each other merely by virtue of having different bodies and minds. But from the point of view of their souls, all differences are not only secondary, but false. The spiritual unity of all souls remains inviolable in spite of all wars. And from the point of view of ultimate reality, it remains true that no soul is really at war with any other soul. There is a war in different ideologies. And this war of ideologies extends to and involves not only the minds, but also the bodies of the people. But the undivided and indivisible soul remains one in its unimpeachable and integral unity. The spiritually advanced persons are alive to this truth of the unity of all souls, and the role which they play in the game of God is necessarily determined by the spiritual understanding which they have. They perform their duty in cooperation with the divine will, and being in tune with the infinite truth, they are, in playing their part, not only free from all thoughts of selfish gain, but also from their reactionary feelings of hate or malice or revenge. The soul remains untouched and unscathed by the loss and the destruction of material things and possessions. And death is only a gateway to further life. Those who would play their part in the divine game shall remain unmoved by any bereavements or losses, and they shall also impart to others the spirit of cheerful resignation to the divine will. The incomprehensible sufferings of war will embitter many souls. They need to be helped in the restoration of the unassailable faith and imperishable sweetness of life. Those who are initiated into the eternal values of inner life shall bear the burden of dispelling unwarranted gloom and depression and cheer up those who are in anguish. In the hour of trial, let the thought of everyone be not for the limited self, but for others, not for the claims of the ego life, but for the claims of the divine self, which is equally in all. It is a mistake to ignore human suffering as merely a part of the illusory universe. Not by ignoring human suffering, but by handling it is the gateway opened for life eternal, and not through callous indifference, but through active and selfless service is secured the attainment of that transcendental and illimitable truth which is at the heart of the illusory universe. I know that was a lot, but that's from Lord Maher, and I thought it was beautiful, and that Baba did a marvelous job in explaining selfless service in ways that are practical. And of course, he witnessed World War II, and it's true, of course, since World War II for any war, all that remains true. And we see a lot of war and strife on Earth right now with Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Hamas and any other conflicts. So that's what I wanted to share. And now I'd like to open it up for everybody else to share. So Sarah, Mona, Ken, if you have anything you'd love to share about, I'd love to hear it. Thoughts, feelings? Did you like the quotes? You can't come off mute?
Go ahead, Mona.
It was really beautiful. Thank you. I'm just still soaking it in.
Okay. Hey, Diane and Terry.
Hey, we came 1 minute late and you were reading, and I have no concept of the context. So unfortunately, it went over my head.
Okay. Well, the context is selfless service.
Okay.
Sarah, do you want to share your story that you were talking about in the elevator? This is my sister, Sarah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
He's in Phoenix.
Yeah, my story is that when I first came to Myrtle Beach, I think it was in 1992. Does that sound right? And I didn't know anything about Mayor Baba. Laurent had introduced me to Baba. Then I was living in New York at the time, and I went down to visit and went to Sherry Art Books, and I just saw this beautiful plaque that said, "Real happiness lies in making others happy." And as I said, I knew nothing about Baba, hadn't read anything of him, had, met him briefly, just seeing pictures of him and, knowing that Laurent was getting involved with learning about Baba. But anyway, I bought that plaque, and I thought I still had it. I was actually going to bring it down here for this meeting, and I couldn't find it. So I think I must have passed it along to someone else. But that was the first of Baba's messages that really, really penetrated me, because it just made so much sense to me, and it still does. I don't know. I've always just been the kind of person that has put more importance in personal relationships and trying to help others than finding, gaining things from my own personal self, I guess. I don't know how you would say that. So it was interesting that Laurent's here on business. I live in Flagstaff. I just drove down for 3 hours to visit him tonight, because we don't see each other very much. And he said, do you have anything to add? And I was like, yeah, I bought that plaque. I'll bring it with me. And now I can't find it. But the message was really profound for me. So, yeah. So,
you internalized it.
Yeah. Thank you. I kind of live it. I feel like I try to live it. So anyway, that's me. Thank you. I'll pass the stick to the next person.
I think that's beautiful, share. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ken, did you have something?
Yeah, Sarah, I remember, I think it was December. I was there when you arrived, or you were there when I arrived in Myrtle Beach. So that was your first visit.
In that year, yeah.
92, yeah.
It's true. We
with
had
my friend Krishna from India.
Yeah. And we hung out in the kitchen for many talks. I remember that. Yeah. Gosh, 30 some odd years ago at this point, right? How's that possible?
Yeah. But that long quote, Laurent, was so deep and covered so much. So challenging, really, how to internalize that, live that,
Well, I like what he's saying about having the right values, the spiritual values, and then that the burden of the people who have the spiritual values is to help cheer up and bring hope back to the people who are losing faith and losing hope, right? So it's like if you read Baba's discourse on the task for spiritual workers or work for the spiritual freedom of humanity or any of those discourses, he gives very practical guidelines for what we can do to be of help and of service.
Yeah.
Hey.
Another thing that came to mind.
Oh,
Oh, were you going? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
When I saw the meeting was tonight, the selfless service was, the part about not being attached to results, and how do you do selfless service without the ego being there, And
Yeah.
I kind of saw that in India when I was there. Here were people like the women at the trust, or Hardeep, giving a tour, Lower Mehrabad. You're only allowed to go down twice a week now. And there might be 2 people there or 3 people. And here we are 50 years later, and
Yeah.
they do it. They just do it, even though they've probably done it 1,000 times. And, they're not attached. I mean, they're doing what they've signed up to do and doing it for
Yeah.
Baba.
I remember Baba saying that one of the ways of doing selfless service without being attached to the results is saying, well, Baba, I did that, for you, with you, but really it belongs to you. So whatever the results are belongs to you. And then not needing to know the result, because knowing might get in the way,
Yeah, it reminds me just one little story that you reminded me of. The last time I saw Mani was in 1991 on Ratithi at a distance. And she was greeting all these Indian folks, And I think most people know how Mani was. She was just incredibly there in the moment with everyone and really, really cared and connected. And I remember having the thought, just a smile, or just, Baba says somewhere, I guess, in the discourses, a smile can be as much as a great work. You don't know whose life is changed by that moment, that kindness.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I was on the way here. I was on a shuttle at the airport to get to the rental car, and we're waiting for the doors to open on the shuttle. It was like a tram, like a track, like a little train. And the guy next to me, African American man, looks at me and he says, I was just looking at your chain there, And I said, oh. I said, yeah, that's Meher Baba. Do you know about Meher Baba? He said, Meher Baba, no. And I said, are you interested in spiritual things? And he says, I am. And I travel with copies of the Universal Message for just such an occasion. And he was standing probably 4 feet away. And I reached into my bag and I found a Universal Message, and I just held it in my hand and waited to get off to go get my rental car. And he's standing by the door. And when the train was just about to stop and open the doors, I just handed him the Universal Message. And he goes, oh, Meher Baba. And I just walked away, because it's like Baba said, it's your job to bring my name to somebody's ear, but it's my job to take it from their ear to their heart. So I knew as soon as I handed him the universal message from Baba, really speaking, my work is done. I don't need to know how he feels about Baba or what that's about. That's none of my business. It's probably better if I don't know.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I remember one other thing that really was concerning to me, which was somebody said to Baba, there's hardly any African American Baba lovers, like almost none. Why is that? And Erich looked at the fellow and said, because you don't make them feel welcome. And I thought, wow, that's enormous. So Baba made people feel welcome. What am I doing to make people feel welcome? Diane and Terry, Selfless Service.
When we were together 10 years, we this is 1998. We had a ceremony, a coming together with our closest friends and family. It wasn't legal then. It wasn't legal till 2008, but we did it yeah, to all those who bared witness and helped us along our journey. And I had just gotten a new job, so we didn't have any time to take off. I took off the next day, and that was it. And Terry's gift to me was to go down to Venice Beach, which is a mile from our house, and rent a tandem bike. And that was a gift because Terry's not proficient on two-wheelers. But if I was womaning the front, she felt confident. So here we were on June 1st, 1998, on a gorgeous day. In the afternoon, we had a couple hours to steal away from our kid while the person who watched her. And we were biking along when we saw a woman coming the other direction fly over her handlebars and to the bike path. And we quickly stopped at the same, we without even saying anything to each other, we knew to stop and jump off. And Terry immediately had her head in her lap and was doing Reiki, I believe, while 911 was called. And I turned to Terry after this woman was safely taken away. And Terry had given her suggestions to make sure that she told the plastic surgeon what to do, because Terry's a facial expert. And I turned to her and I said, the biggest wedding gift you could give me is knowing, I didn't know the term at that time, but selfless service. Neither of us thought even for a moment that our precious time to celebrate our union could be distracted, but without question, we were there because someone else was in need. We didn't know her name. She didn't know our name. We went on our different paths after that. But that has been who we've been. We just did it the other day with somebody. And I think that's along the line that you're talking about, selfless service with that.
It is. Yes, that's a great story.
Mm.
Beautiful.
And we also want to share that we just came back from being in Scotland, and the hotel in Edinburgh was very nice and sent us an email welcoming us and telling us about nearby restaurants that they recommended. And number one was called Baba. And it was directly across the street from our hotel and one building over. And all the signage was Baba. The outside signage, the inside, the menus, the screensavers all said Baba. And so he's saying his name loud and clear in Edinburgh.
I love that.
It's great.
That's great.
So that reminded me of a story. Do you want to hear that?
Yeah, always.
I had just gotten back from living in England. I was there for a year and a half. And I was in a kind of in-between state where I had no idea where I was supposed to go. I knew I had to come back to America, but I was leaving England. I wasn't going to anything. You know what I'm saying? Like betwixt and between. So I decided to rent an apartment for 6 months so I could get my bearings and figure out where I was supposed to go. And I was praying a lot to Baba about, where do you want me to go? What should I be doing? And so I was just kind of in this limbo, and I was on the upstairs.
How old were you?
How old was I?
Yeah.
In your 30s.
I need to do
Yeah.
math.
That's what it's 10,
I got back
35.
from England in 2005,
20 years ago.
20 years ago, and I'm 56, so 36 math. So 36. And I was praying a lot, and I had this apartment on the top story of a 2-story house, and there was a stairway going down to a door to the lower apartment. So if I opened my front door to go downstairs, I could see all the way down the stairs, and there was a door on the side that somebody lived below me. But I didn't know who it was. And I once saw this woman with her boyfriend, and she was obviously in a very, very, very bad relationship. And she gave me this look of like terror about her relationship, that like deer in the headlights, but
Help me.
it was severe, and I think I saw him once, but I saw this look of terror on her face. So the next time I saw her, I said to her, if you ever need help, I'm right here. Don't hesitate to ask for help. And she just nodded, but there was a sense of like deep shame and fear. It was like a very contracted, when energy is just completely tight and contracted, but she acknowledged that she heard what I said. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to stick my nose in her business, but I just said that, like, if you ever need help, I'm right here. And I decided to hold Baba meetings at my apartment, like, I don't know. I don't remember how frequently, once a week, once a month, I don't really remember, maybe once a month. I don't know. And so I had a Baba meeting, and it was just me and one other person who came, and we sat down to start the meeting, like at 7, right? So we just sat down, and we were about to start the meeting, and I said, okay. And before I could even say like the first thing for the meeting, there was a knock on the door, and I opened the door, and it's her. I said, come in. And I said, you need help? And it was like a horror show. Like she was a abused woman. And I said, you can't go back. You can't go back into that. And she said, I don't know where to go. Well, it turns out that the other person in the Baba meeting was a specialist in abuse. And he knew all the places in the town where we were living that she could get help. But I didn't know anything. But Baba knew. See, Baba knew. So she came to the Baba meeting at the moment it started, and I said, I know what this Baba meeting is. We're leaving here and we're getting her help. So we said, come. And we got in the car, and because I didn't know where to go, but the other guy with me knew everywhere to go. So we went to the first place that he thought of would be the best, and they had room for her. And we got her all settled. And I said, see, Baba knew.
That's a cool story.
Yeah. But you see, I hadn't thought about that story since that time in 2005, because it's none of my business. You get what I'm saying? I only thought of it because of this meeting. I had completely forgotten about her.
Well, you were a catalyst for her.
Yeah, but Baba knew how to connect all the dots.
Right.
See?
You were there because she needed your friend.
But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't said to her, you can always get help here at this door.
Sure.
Like I did my part is really what it comes down to. The rest is Baba, right? It's all Baba. It's like, do your best and give to me the rest, that thing that Baba says, right? It's like, I just did my best.
Diane wants to say something.
They can.
Oh, they can unmute themselves.
Mm-hmm. Hey, love.
Hey. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Vanessa.
Oh my gosh, you guys are side by side. That's so cute. I was not
You know I was coming down, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh yeah, I came down. I'm right here.
Aw, that's
We're
great.
doing, we're
Yeah.
doing selfless service, love.
Oh yeah, I know. So I won't
got-
interrupt anymore.
No, it's not interrupt. It's your turn.
Well, no, I just sat down.
Okay, Mona, you got
That's
something?
too much pressure. She just got on. Yeah.
Mona, you got
Hi,
one?
Vanessa. Yeah, I got something to share.
Hi, Mona.
How are you?
I'm good.
So, after listening to your shares, firstly, I wanted to tell Sarah that it's so beautiful that she not only loved the quote, but she had lived it, because loving something and living by it are like two different things. And it's so amazing that you could actually do that. Secondly, I remember that during COVID, there were a lot of people going through a lot of upheaval in their lives. And I was able to hold space for a few of them. One of them was also a Baba lover who wanted to commit suicide. So I could help two people who wanted to commit suicide, a lot of other people who were going through emotional trauma, and uh, so much more during those days. As I work with people, one-to-one sessions, uh, for people who've been depressed or been through abuse, or sexual abuse, childhood abuse, and those are deeper things. But just anything, in if they're going through anything emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, or in relationships. And I just did it selflessly, uh, and did not charge them anything, but was able to hold space. Thank God and to Baba for that. And the joy was priceless, because there were so many people who had been going through something for so many years, and at that time it was like at the peak. So like there was so much going on in the world. And I thank Baba, who also held space for my father and me during that time. And there were a lot of Baba lovers who we did not even know, and people from the trust who came through for us. So I'm very grateful to have received, and also grateful to be in a space where I could give. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you.
So did you guys read the Selfless Service, the whole pink? I
Yeah.
think it's okay,
You
good.
want to, see
I
it
just
again?
wanted to say that my favorite part was about holding someone in your heart, do you remember that part?
Oh, what are you saying is the pink quote? Do you have it?
Yeah, sheltering others in one's heart makes one inhabit theirs. An act of helpfulness, a word of comfort, the spontaneous warmth of selfless love. Give to others what they greatly need. Their thoughts of gratitude and goodwill, the heightened surge of their spirit, and an increased flow of God love released by the selfless act bring to the giver infinitely more than he can ever give.
We did not read that. No.
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought,
memorize that?
what?
Oh, I thought you just did that from memory. Were you reading it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just read it. So no, but when I read that, I just thought that's been sort of the theme for me, I guess, in this last couple years, was instead of, I don't know, when I was younger, I used to think of selfless service as being something that, you could just physically help somebody with, like, but holding someone and like in high regard in your heart, that whole quote was just it's beautiful. And I've been watching some people's accounts of, like, having died on the operating table or something like that, and they have this experience on the other side, and they come back, and they all talk about what Baba says, they experience the feelings of the other person in relation to the actions they took. And then one of the people said, really, really, not just think about the actions you're doing, but think about the thoughts that you're thinking about the people, and how important that was. And here it is, and even in selfless service, it's saying that that's an act that can lift someone,
Yeah.
raise someone up.
Yep.
So
That's right.
I mean, it's a silent, private act, but so powerful. It's like I think maybe that's when Baba's talks about the, sort of his whole theme of being silent and having the silence, and the silence is love, and connecting to all that. That to me is like the missing link, that we all can join in that silence, and that give and take of the love through holding everybody in high regard in your heart.
Yeah. Can I piggyback on that, or do you have more?
No, you can piggyback.
So somebody came to Baba once and they said, Baba, I have this friend, and they explained the situation with the friend, and then they said, I feel so helpless about what I can do to be of help to this person. I really want to help them. I don't know how. I don't know what to do, and it's just really frustrating, and I'm really, in anguish around this. And Baba said to the person, but you have no idea how much your desire to help them is helping them. I thought that was really incredible.
That is incredible.
I think it's related to what you're saying, that there's like these invisible connections, right, in the silence, and that the desire to help helps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing a lot more prayer too. I mean, I'm sure that's another form of selfless service, at least in my 12-step program, a lot of it is kind of, for me, has been pulling back some of the codependent actions, and then, connecting to what are the more loving actions, and letting God play the orchestrator in someone else's life. It can be difficult if you think that, oh no, I don't want this person to suffer. But, by praying and stepping back, that might be like doing them way more good than, involving myself, So, and getting entangled, I guess, in someone's, life. But yeah, so prayer has been a much bigger theme for me, I think, in the last couple of years.
Do you want to talk a little bit, you and I, about what we learned when I was at Maribod and the prayer story at all?
You have to kind of give me a little more cheese. I don't know what you're talking about.
When
Cheese.
I talked to Amrit about the person who went to Baba and asked Baba, do you remember? And then you came up with all the prayers.
I'm just getting cracker right now, and I need some more. I'm not. What?
Where's the beef?
Well, I'll start, and then you can
What
decide.
trip was it?
What?
Which trip?
My last trip, when I was there and I was sitting next to Amrit.
Oh, you're talking about the list of. Okay, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
now I know.
Should we tell that? I'll start, and then you can finish.
Okay.
Okay. So I was sitting at the Samadhi next to Amrit. Amrit is Dara's wife, who Amrit and Dara's uncle was Mayor Baba. And I don't know why, somehow we were talking, and we're underneath the mandap, or whatever they call that, on the side there.
Like gazebo kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, on chairs. So we were kind of whispering to each other, and somehow we got on this topic of asking Baba or praying to Baba. And she said, do you know what happened? And I said, what? She said, this person came to Baba and they asked him for something. And he said, don't ask me for that. Go to my Samadhi, because he had already built his Samadhi. He said, go to my Samadhi and ask me there. And I was like, what the heck? And so it turned out that she's like, yeah, that's what Baba said. And then through that act, that guy got a response. by going to Baba's samadhi and asking Baba at his samadhi, even though Baba was alive. So, because Baba told him to. This is a very interesting story. And I was looking at Amrit and I said, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "No, that's what happened." So then I told Vanessa from India, that's what happened. And then Vanessa told me, now you take over, love.
She was
I was like, oh my gosh,
She was in
this is
America.
like the secret. This is the key. I was like, I've been given like the cheese, the full cheese, the whole block of cheese. This is it. So I was like, okay. So then I sat down and I didn't get a pen and paper. I put it on my phone. I just texted in my notes. I texted prayers for every single person I could think of. So I don't know. I had like 23 prayers all written out in this thing. And he's like, well, you better hand it to me before, I need it by this such and such time because I have to go in the samadhi. And I was like, okay.
Because I was the proxy prayer for Vanessa.
Yeah. So I was like in a panic. And I was like, so I texted him. And then he, I don't know exactly if you just were outside the tomb or inside the tomb.
It was so long, I couldn't be inside. They would have kicked me out of the tomb.
So there was a prayer for Sarah over there. There was a prayer for Laurent. There was a prayer for all my kids. There was a prayer for my brother. There was a prayer for my mom who was going through cancer at the time. And I literally just forgot about it because, life happens. We had to move right away as soon as he came back. I mean, I ended up with a back injury. It was so many things just were like happening. And then all of a sudden, all these little glimmers of like beautiful events started happening. And I started thinking to myself, like, okay, wait, this is amazing. Like, this seems like it might be like related to my prayers. So I went back and I checked my prayers and I was like, oh my gosh, my prayer was coming true for each person. Now it had different timeline for each person, and it had a different, sometimes there was a little bit of a literal response to my prayer. So then I started realizing I have to really be careful about how I word my prayers because I think Baba is a literal God. I really think you have to be very careful about what you say. So like, no, because one of my prayers I think was for Narayan. It was like that he would rise in the tech field. Okay, so that's because he was studying code and everything, and I thought that'll be a good prayer. And then now he's on top of cell towers.
He rose.
literally
Working in the tech fields. And I was like, oh, I should have put like corporate, like rise in the corporate world, but anyway, I was like, oh, but then I went through another stage where I was looking up the prayers and I thought to myself, wait, is this another level of meddling with somebody's life? Praying for them and having like these beautiful outcomes. And so my mom calls up and she's like, oh yeah, they approved me for this special cancer drug and it's working. And, and then she's like cancer free a year, within, I don't know, 7 or 8 months of like praying the prayer that she would be cancer free. So I'm just kind of blown away. Now I've kind of pulled back a little bit because I'm a little bit like, oh gosh, like this could be like a whole business. You could have somebody standing at the tomb and then people could just start sending in their prayers. And then there would be like there would be no more suffering on the planet because everybody would be trying to pray for everybody,
So Mani said something about that. Baba's sister Mani used to ask people, Baba lovers, to pray for her. And they were confused. They were like, wait a second, but you're Baba's sister, like what the heck? And she was like, no, you don't understand. Praying for other people is more effective than praying for yourself. So we should all pray for each other. Mona's nodding over there.
I think that's such a beautiful share because prayer has so much power in it. And, like Jesus said, right? Like faith moves mountains and miracles happen. So, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for the share.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing is, I thought it was interesting. So I had mentioned to a few people that Laurent was going back to India because he ended up taking a group of young men, and to send me any of their prayers, because I would give them to Laurent again, because he was going to be there to pray. And I was telling you about, I was like, yeah, it works. It's amazing. You have to do this. And I found that I got like, wasn't even like one person decided to pray, and I was kind of amazed by that. So I feel like, um, it really does create like this portal, like a two-way portal, right? So you have to be ready to receive and you have to be ready to give, and not everybody's ready, and I think when we pray for others, we are also praying for ourselves. So it's also raising us up. So I think that, unless somebody's really truly ready to put themselves in that position, then, it's not going to be um, something that naturally comes to them, or it's is easy, or maybe they're ready for. And so I had to let go about that too, because I was like, I felt like I was going to run around to everybody and just say, "Oh my gosh, I found the magic formula," But yeah, and sometimes with Baba, he like, at least with me, like I've gone through different stages where he's very responsive, and then he kind of pulls back, and then I have to, you know, do more struggle, and then he becomes very responsive, and then, it's like kind of that cyclical thing.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So, but I did, Laurent and I on a trip from um Charleston to Austin, Texas. We did a road trip. We had Francis and our two dogs in the car. We decided to read the book, The Secret World of Fairies, right? Is that what it's called? And in the book, it talks about the different character and nature of angels and fairies and that sort of thing. And one of the things that struck me when I read them was that angels are not allowed to step in and help us unless we ask for help. And so like they're always present and they're always there and they always are so ready to help. But we have to actually be open and ask for the help. So since then I've been very much, instead of being quiet and thinking I have to just suffer my lot, like I've definitely started talking to not just Baba, but also my guardian angel and whatever the energy is I feel that is around me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's right, love.
I think a form of selfless service is, that we do our best to love ourselves so that we can be present to love others, because if we're at a deficit, we're not going to be able to have that bandwidth to, you know, do say the Sahavas for everyone Zoom or whatever it is.
Yeah, we learned that in Al Anon. One of my favorite sayings is put the oxygen mask on yourself before attempting to help others. I love that.
Right, which is, again, I think it's a form of selfless service to that. It seems the opposite of what we would think of as selfless service, but it is.
Diane and Terry, did you have something? I heard a little whispering going on. No?
I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
Um, so every time I would go to Merazad, I would just love to see Casey out there. I don't know how many of I'm sure all of you know her. So this is a picture. Can you see it? It's on my phone. Yeah. And
Mhm.
The closer you put it, the easier it is to see it.
Yeah, that's great.
so what I really love about going there was to see her and to receive like a smile from her, a hug, a kiss, anything. And it would just lift me up. And
Yeah.
I mean, there are only few people in the world I feel like who do that.
Aw.
Like I would just I just thought that she does it so selflessly and with so much of love and kindness and gentleness, and it's just, and the way she would just welcome all of us every time we would go there, and the love that would pour in was just beautiful, and the way she would share her knowledge and wisdom about Baba and Baba's lives to us was so beautiful. And uh, it just, like when somebody shares that with you, then it touches that chord in you, and it's also an example or a lesson, like, to be that way. And if she could do that, imagine if the whole world was filled with more people like that, touching
Yeah.
each other's lives with just that, as you all said earlier, with that kind smile, or you never know how it touches somebody else's lives. So I guess what I take back is to be an example of that, and that's, yeah, it's a big task, but I think she really emits that, to do it selflessly in spite of whatever she may be going through, in her health and in her life, yet touching people's lives, and day in and day out to do that. I think that's so beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing
Well,
that.
Mona, I felt like you did that for me when I met you.
Really?
Yes, you were so sweet and loving.
Mona,
Thank
can I
you.
share?
So I
Can I share? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mona.
And I was just telling Vanessa that she's also very loving and kind and gentle. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I remembered a quote when you were talking, Mona, from Baba, which I think is part of this, which is he said, "Let your life itself be my message of love and truth to others." And when I heard that, I was like, "Well, that's the spiritual path, right? It's not the spiritual path isn't reading about Baba; it's how you live."
Or proselytizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not how you live, then it's what's the point?
That's very, very, very. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Baba said, "Let your life itself be my message of love and truth to others."
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Because I know people who are on a spiritual path, who meditate every day, go to satsang, but if you look into their lives, somewhere there's so much of anger and hatred and resentment that comes out, and they've not been able to work through that aspect in them. And this, what you just shared, is so beautiful. It's so beautiful, very touching, yeah, deep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sim- it's simple, but yeah.
Well, and Sarah and I were just talking right before the meeting started. People overcomplicate spirituality. It doesn't have to be complicated.
That's true. And the message is love, right? Baba's message is love me, take his name. It's just so simple. Yeah.
I know it was such a big gift for, I know for the Mandali it must have been heartbreaking, but for Baba to die before, so many of them. But I feel like, he purposely left, all of those disciples for us to see, that love in action.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the Mandli was also blessed to be in a physical presence and experience life with him,
Yeah.
right? That's also the beauty of it, right? Which we have experiences with Baba when he's not in his physical form. They were lucky to be in his physical and spiritual uh, aspect, listening to his orders, being close to him, being, like with him, receiving his love, and the Mandali's love as well, and people's love. I think that's amazing. Yeah.
So I think that spirituality isn't complicated, but religion is. And I think that religion and spirituality get really intertwined. Being in England and Scotland for 2 weeks, their histories in the name of the Christian word is horrific, just uglier than ugly. Things that were done in the name of their Lord. It's beyond me when I think of Catholics fighting Protestants, and they have the same Lord, let alone fighting against Muslims who have it's let alone Baba lovers who also have judgment about who knows Baba better and what Baba says. And
And
I
what you
think
should do, what you shouldn't do,
yeah,
according to Baba, according to them.
one of the worst is when somebody says, well, Baba told me, it's like,
Don didn't like that at all when people talk like that.
who's that?
Don Stevens didn't like hearing
Yeah.
people say that. One of my favorites is I'm on the gross plane, but I'm veiled. That was a joke from Chicago. Do you remember that, Ken?
Yeah, I remember it from the newsletter. What was his name? Mark Palmer.
Yeah.
And he wrote that his buddy Ken Coleman can now be revealed. He's on the gross plane but veiled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. Come on. Okay.
Well, on that same theme, I've been learning a big lesson about don't think you know anything about anyone else's reality, because there's so much nonsense out there and different perspectives, never whatever, that it's hard not to catch yourself judging or thinking you know something about somebody that's not good or whatever. I mean,
Didn't
you need to be careful sometimes around people, but it's just that it's between them and Baba in the end.
Yeah, that's a phrase I also learned in Al-Anon. It's quite simple that it's none of my business.
somebody was telling us on Zoom last night that the trust sent out an email to people about people who are posing as spiritual masters, I guess, around Maribod, and to beware. It got really lengthy when this guy was reading about it. You know about it, Ken?
Yeah, I got it. The email.
And did I hear somebody say that Westerners can go down to Lower Maribod twice a month?
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah, it's called a tour, but you're just free to bear that. And then they have special days like when they have RT or over Silence Day. We had 3 days we could go down. I was just there for Silence Day for about a month, actually.
Wow.
So I hadn't been in 13 years, so I was a little concerned about all the changes. But actually, the tunnel and the new road and all of that was actually, for me, it felt like it isolated Lower Maribod more in the way, having the wall and everything. Because you already had the busy road there 13 years ago, So that wasn't the most, well, not shocking, but the sad, I don't know if sad thing, but, my generation were either dying off or in wheelchairs or fading away rapidly, so.
I'm happy with some of the changes.
Like
being able to go under the railroad tracks and not have to wait for the train.
Right.
I didn't hear what you said, Laurent. Like doing what?
Oh, being able to go underneath the railroad tracks and not have to wait for the train to go by, stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Although that train was great for us because we lending a ride to Nashwan back in 2013, and we didn't know him, but he asked if he knew we had a car because we were going to go meet Bauji, and he was speaking down at Lower Maribot, and we got stuck because of the train. So we got like 30 minutes with just getting to know Nashwan.
That's a funny story.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour. Let's go around and do final thoughts and feelings. Any burning desires around selfless service?
Yes.
I think what Vanessa said about selfless service to yourself as well is really, really important. Because I had a lifetime of giving it out and I don't have a lot of energy now. And I always have this thing of guilt that I'm not doing as much as everybody else. And once we were at the center here and there was a big picture of Baba on an easel. And I'm feeling those feelings because it feels like everyone's rushing around me, opening chairs and doing different things. And he says, you're taking care of you. And that's what you're supposed to be doing right now. And let the other stuff go to me. And it's really, it was a big gift. Let's put it that way. Because I
Beautiful.
didn't know how to give to myself. I only knew how to give it away.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Laurent, for sticking with your commitments. You're traveling, you could be having time with your sis, although having family Baba time has got to be a great gift.
It is.
It is.
When I do Baba events and when I used to do them here, Sarah would always come.
Beautiful.
I'm a closet Baba lover.
It's okay.
You can come out. We'll tell
I'm
you
just
about how
joking.
great
It's
it
just
is.
a joke, but people
I get
all
it.
through my 30-something years of my brother being a Baba follower, and people are always like, when did you come to Baba? Blah, blah, blah. What's your story? And I'm just like, well, you know, I'm a Baba lover by osmosis. So I don't have a big story, but I love Baba. So I like being here.
Well, we're glad you're here, and
Totally.
thanks, Laurent.
Yeah. It's
Thank
nice
you for
meeting
coming.
you.
It's a good meet.
And
Thank
Mona,
you.
do you go to sleep now?
That's 5 o'clock. Oh, Mona
Yeah, it's
goes
fine.
to sleep.
It's 5:30 in the morning for Mona.
Thank you
Mona.
for
Woo!
and beautiful messages.
Avatar Mayor
Mona
Baba.
Baba
Ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Avatar Mayor
Avatar
Baba Ki Jai.
Avatar.
Avatar Mayor Baba Ki Jai.
Jai.
Okay, now I stop the recording.
And this is the